The UK police are stepping up their armed patrols on the transport network and in other crowded places as they warn of the potential of an increased terror risk over the festive period. Now, senior officers from the counter-terror policing and the British Transport Police have issued a joint call for increased vigilance following the recent attacks, of course, targeting the Jewish community both in Manchester and in Bondi in Australia, and a warning that mass gatherings over the Christmas and New Year period remain an attractive target for terrorists. I'm joined in the studio in Westminster by GB News' Homeland Security Editor Mark White. Mark, welcome to Westminster again, the second day on the bounce. We were speaking just yesterday about the fireworks at the Champs-Élysées in Paris being cancelled over fears of terrorism. Festive markets in Bavaria and across France being targeted. And we asked the question then, could this come to Britain? Today, it seems it could.
Well, it certainly could. It could come to any country, sadly. And against that backdrop, there is real concern. That's why you're looking at the images now filmed just along the road in Victoria, outside Victoria Rail Station, armed police units outside those stations on the streets, providing that reassurance to the public, because of particular concern are crowded places. Yeah. And at this time of the year, people gather in large crowds for all kinds of events, but they're also on the likes of the transportation system in greater numbers than they have ever been. It's symbolic as well for these twisted individuals that carry out these terrorist attacks to try and attack at this time of the year. So all of that feeds in to the element of risk that the police have got to factor in. I spoke just a little while ago to Deputy Assistant Commissioner John Saville. He is the National Coordinator for Protect and Prepare, that counter-terrorism response. And he told me, especially in light of what's been playing out in the Middle East, they've got to be on their guard this festive period. This is what he said.
What happens abroad does play out here on the streets in the UK, particularly here in London, but across all of the rest of the country. And we have to be aware of that. Emotions are running high. But nevertheless, you know, we are a peaceful society. And again, I must reassure the public that there is no specific increased threat. We're just asking for some extra vigilance at this time of the year.
Every time you're online, your money and your identity are at risk. Scams now make up nearly 40% of all crime in the UK. That's thousands of attacks every single day. In Britain, someone has their identity stolen every 2 minutes, leaving victims with wrecked finances and years of stress. The threat is real, and you could be next. ExpressVPN is your shield against criminals. It locks down your devices, hiding your personal information and financial details from hackers, scammers, and anyone else looking to exploit you. So whether you're checking your bank, shopping, or just browsing, ExpressVPN makes you invisible to prying eyes trying to steal your money and your identity. ExpressVPN shields your data with military-grade AES 256 encryption. That's the same standard trusted by the US government to guard classified information. This is the highest level of online security you can get. So don't wait for disaster. Secure up to 14 devices at once and get powerful password protection. Real support is available 24/7 because cybercrime never sleeps. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Every moment you hesitate is another moment you're exposed. Protect your money and protect your identity. Get ExpressVPN right now.
Now, Mark, well, I know that's the police doing their job, and hats off to them. You know, we need to be kept safe. And I've got to say, on a personal note, I've never felt safer. I remember after 7/7, the bombings, when the cops were armed to the teeth. I think bring it on. But it does seem to me to be particularly pertinent this year, off the back of what's happening on the continent and Australia, and repeated threats of jihadist terror. It seems to be something a bit more ominous this year, Mark.
I think you're right. There is real concern. I've been hearing it throughout the year, actually. building up from what's been playing out in the Middle East, in particular, the Gaza conflict and the protests that we see regularly, the extremists that get mobilised and feed off the war in Gaza and the popular support that they think they're getting from numerous people. Again, these are images just outside the Roman Catholic Cathedral there in Victoria, in that area. And we've got extra police patrols that are not just armed. I mean, you said you felt reassured by armed police. I think most people do. There are certain people that recoil at the sight of armed police, but I think most people realise that they're there to protect them should the worst possibly happen, as we've seen so often, both here in the UK and around the world. I spoke as well to the Chief Constable of British Transport Police, and those armed units that we were seeing there will be in particular evidence on the likes of the transport network. And of course, they've seen themselves, OK, it wasn't a terrorist-related incident, but they have had a mass casualty event on a train in Huntingdon. This is what Lucy D'Orsay, the Chief Constable of British Transport Police, said to me. And I know it wasn't terror-related in terms of the crime, but we saw early in the year Huntingdon as well. I mean, that highlights the vulnerability, I guess, of the public transport network at times as well.
Of course, you know, and Huntingdon, my thoughts are with all of those affected by Huntingdon. It was a fantastic response by the emergency services, but it does show that it is a crowded place. It's an environment that is, you're trapped on an environment in that particular area. But again, if you see something that you're uncomfortable about, looks abnormal, you're just not sure, please let us be the judge of it and text us on 61016.
And of course, just overnight, we got word of another plot, this time to coincide with New Year celebrations. 5 simultaneous bomb attacks that the FBI say they disrupted. They filmed a group, a far-right extremist group linked to the Palestinian conflict, a pro-Palestinian group that were planning bomb attacks, as I say, in 5 different locations, and even looking to go after those ICE, those immigration enforcement officers in the US who have been very busy on behalf of the US President Donald Trump in going after illegal immigrants. So in the US, in Germany, we've seen it in Australia, here in the UK, just a couple of months back in Manchester, the terror threat level, there's no doubt, is ticking upwards. And the police and the Director General of MI5 have both said that Al-Qaeda and Islamic State are on the rise again.
It's an incredible thing to say. Now, these are dark parts of stains on human history we thought had gone, but Islamic State flags were found, of course, at Bondi. Al-Qaeda back in the mix.
And the thing is, Al-Qaeda, although it was absolutely degraded by coalition forces, it was never obliterated. It scattered, and it went to places like the Philippines, where those 2 shooting suspects from the Australian terror attack had gone in the previous month. To, we understand, gain training in southern Philippines where ISIS has a base. And ISIS doesn't even have to have a base. You don't need to go for training. Their tentacles reach out over the internet to people in the UK and elsewhere, encouraging them to go and to kill as many non-believers as possible. That's their modus operandi. And they've done it to such devastating effect all around the world, and including in this country multiple times.
Thank you, Mark White, for that, and thank you to Protect and Prepare and British Transport Police for trying to keep us safe at these festive periods. Mark White, absolute pleasure. As always, thank you very much indeed.